think like a lot of the things we hear when we work with young people and they share that experience with us is that it's just like so inherently confusing. I think it really spins your whole sense of identity. Something that you're so sure of, you know, that this was your home, this is where you live, this is the language you speak, these are where all your friends are from, and just one UCAS application telling you that you're not eligible to home fees, I think describes like this being like completely spun. Especially like we've said, it's just like how can the UK not be considered your home when nowhere, like this is where you've lived for the longest amount of time, you've been through like all your education here. Like I think it's just so inherently confusing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Migrant Moods podcast. This episode is powered by our partners here at Reform Radio, and We Belong is the only nationwide charity run by young migrants and campaigning for our rights to belong in the country we call home. I'm Martin, communications officer for We Belong. Normally, I'm actually the one behind the screen, but today I have jumped in for a special episode where I'm going to be hosting. And I'm also joined by my colleague Asli and by Fatima.
Hello. So I'm Asli and I'm the community engagement officer for We Belong here, based in Manchester.
And I'm Fatima. I'm a young person that engages with We Belong. I've been to gatherings and my first one was 2 years ago, and that's where I met lovely Asli. And ever since I started at that gathering, I've just kept going since, and it's been a really good journey.
That's really cool. We're definitely going to get more into like the gathering and everything. And just for whoever's listening in for the first time, this podcast is created by the core group, which is a group of young people who lead our podcast. And they've started this podcast because they want to share about their journey, about growing up in the UK, but what it means to belong, which is actually today's mood word for the episode is belonging. So the word belonging was chosen because this episode is all about living between two cultures. Should we stand out, or, you know, do we form part of like UK society and what that means? So I'm really, really excited to have you guys. And before we get into it, you guys were actually here yesterday at Reform Radio on the Get Up show. Big
We're
up
addicted
to
the microphone.
yeah, you guys are making your debut. Tell me about that. How was your experience yesterday? What did you guys talk about on the Get Up?
So for me personally, I really enjoyed it. I know we both enjoyed it, but for me it was more of like the viewpoint of me coming as a young person and my journey and what I learned and how I've progressed over time with We Belong. And it was just nice to share like my thoughts on the way people perceive migrants and kind of framing how we should approach people that do come in with a negative viewpoint, thinking, oh, this is what I think about you. Like they were basically asking us how we would speak to those people and how we would advise other people to approach those situations. And it was just really nice to talk about that.
No, it was such fun. I think it was my first time on radio. Fatima has done it before, so she showed me up there. It was like such a great like conversation. Shout out to Yelena, she was like the perfect host. Made us feel really comfortable in the studio before. I think we both kind of came in a little bit nervous. I think we could have kept talking for ages. The conversation was really, really great, and like Fatima said, it was really nice. It was like quite reflective to see talking about 4 years of We Belong in Manchester, to kind of see all the work we've done and see like naming all the achievements and all the like progress and stuff. So yeah,
that sounds really amazing, because I know by the time this episode comes out, it will have been the 4th anniversary of We Belong in Manchester.
Happy birthday!
Party time!
Can you tell me a little bit about how, like, from Asli, like how your journey with We Belong has been in the past couple of years, and like how do you think Manchester is in compared like to London?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. I think I've been working at We Belong for 2 years now, and I think definitely when I started community engagement, meeting other groups and other people, it was still kind of like, oh, who is We Belong? What work are you guys doing? Well, they knew like quite loosely what the work was being done. Obviously, the Manchester office had been open for 2 years already, but throughout like COVID and not being able to have like, I think I came into the role when being able to actually like engage was actually quite like rampant, especially the time that had come in, I think was also when immigration was kind of being put on the like all the headlines. So it was quite an interesting time to start. But to see that now, it's actually really nice. A lot of organisations in Manchester very much do know who we are, know what we're like, where we're situated, what kind of support we can offer. It's even like people are like, oh, you work for We Belong, and I'm like, that's really crazy because like I have like the elevator pitch of like, give me like 2 minutes to like properly explain to you like who we are and what we do, and it's actually really nice for people like, oh, I think someone like would really benefit from your support, and like, and just knowing that that information is sticking and people really know who we are. So yeah, I think we're doing a good job. So much more to go, but I think we've got a good start.
That's really cool. And how about yourself, Fatima? You were telling us about like how when you first joined We Belong, like how that was in the gathering, and you were also there for our annual youth summit last year. So you want to tell us a little bit more about like kind of your journey with We Belong?
Yeah, so I started coming to gatherings when I was in my last year of college, and I was just looking for, a space to speak to other young people like myself. And I saw like a post on Instagram or LinkedIn, so whoever was doing it at the time, you ate that because I came.
Probably your first
yeah, it was probably you.
Ones. Yeah.
I
Good
think,
job, pat on the
actually
back.
just joined. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
so whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I came with a friend, and yeah, I didn't know too much about what was going on, but it was a really welcoming space, and I came, and on that day people were doing like story of self, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, and telling their own stories, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool, because not often do people get the opportunity to just talk about themselves and have a group that will listen and be engaged and ask them questions and like actually get into it with them. So I found it really interesting, and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to come here. And I like talking a lot, but I also really love listening to people. So in that situation, I was really happy to like hear what people had to say, hear about their experiences, and just grow my knowledge on the things that people are going through, because I think a lot of the times, like with these topics, people do judge really quickly without listening. And I think just creating those safe spaces for people to feel like they belong is so important. So that's how I got into it. And we were at the I was at the annual youth summit last year. Really exciting. Anytime I talk about it with someone, they're like, yeah, I saw you on the social media. I'm like, no, forget about me. But it was really fun. Yeah, I was there with my organisation that I work for as well, and I got to meet so many cool people, and it was just really nice because that was the first one in Manchester, wasn't it? So it was so nice to have things over here. I think we do things amazingly in Manchester. So
better up north, they say.
so they say.
Yeah, I think the panel was super cool. I know our CEO was there. A lot of different organizations were always there and talking about immigration and not being afraid to talk about it. Like, do you think in your experience, like if you compared yourself to a couple of years before you were with We Belong and now, like, do you think you're a lot more comfortable to talk about topics of immigration or migration in general? Like, kind of what do you think about that? Like,
Yeah, actually, definitely. I feel like I am just more clued up about it, because I'm lucky to not have to like think about that, but my family have always told me their experiences, and like I have been able to recommend friends who are going through that situation to We Belong and refer them and give them the emails of staff members to sort things out and see if they can get counseling guidance and things like that, because it is such a complicated process, and I feel like if you're not going through it firsthand, or you're not close to someone going through it firsthand, you actually have no idea, or unless you're working in that environment, you have no idea what goes into it, how many years people put into it, and how much of their life it actually consumes. And that kind of whole links to like the whole out of the loop thing as well, because like you're just trying to get out of it, like you don't want to continue thinking about that cycle of like being denied opportunities and being treated as you're less than, because these people see this place as their home, and there's no reason why they shouldn't feel like it's home.
Yeah, and Asli, I know you were talking about yesterday actually on the radio about like how actually lengthy and costly the route to settlement is, and kind of leading on to also like the question of like, how do you like educate people? How would you tell someone like what is the actual issue that young migrants are facing? Like if you had to like tell them,
Summarize it.
Yeah.
So go on the website. Yeah, I think what the shock factor for a lot of people is the fee. Just roughly £2,500 every 2.5 years, and then saying to that person, like, could you afford that if you didn't have the right to work, no recourse to public funds? How would you get that money? And I think like if you just like name it in that way, obviously they'll just be like, well, impossible.
Yeah.
Like being able to explain it to someone that it's made so it's almost impossible essentially for someone to secure settlement or like a status. I think that really is the way I would tell them.
So like what do you guys think about the term like integration, like especially in the UK with everything that's going on? Like what does that sound like to you?
I feel like the word integration. The word.
She doesn't even believe in it.
It's not in my vocabulary. I think the word integration is like a bit triggering to me. Like when I hear it, I'm just like get a load of this guy. I think the way people use it isn't fit for purpose. I think people say it because they're saying, I want you to look like me. I want you to act like me. I want you to fit in with my core ideals and beliefs rather than I want us to be a community. When I think of integration, I more so think of people being together as a community and accepting differences and similarities and finding ways to, move forward together and be happy with each other and coexisting. But I think other people's definitions might be quite different to mine. So when I hear about integration and like how you should integrate, it is hard because that word was very common in my household because my dad's very big on we should integrate, we're not from here. We need to make sure that we're just like everybody else. We can't stick out. And my mum's very proud of where she's from. And they both came here around a few years apart. But my mum's very much like, no, I'm going to stand by my culture, my values and what I've done my whole life. Why should I change it just because I moved halfway across the world? But it's really weird being in a household where they've got such like polarizing views because my dad's like, no, we need to act like them, be like them. We're in the UK now. This is how things happen. And my mum's like, so what? Do you know what I mean? Like I learned the language, is that not enough? But I think it can be used in a weaponizing way. But I think it just really depends on your experiences and what you believe should happen. Because my dad thinks like if you go somewhere, stick by their rules and nothing wrong will happen. And I'm like, Dad, that's not right. but
your dad's like not in the like your dad's not wrong for that.
No.
I feel I back both your parents in exactly how they've like done it, because I think the UK it's a tough society. It's not a very giving one, and I think it's choosing to integrate is often the easier and safer thing to do because there's so much on the line there. So it's I think with the term integration, like it is just equally I don't love it.
It's very hard because when you're talking about that, I kind of think to like my own experience as well as like when I was a kid, and I feel like especially like when I was growing up in the US. May I ask, would you consider yourself, are you like a second generation
I would say
like,
so.
So like for example, my parents, like they moved to the US and then I was born in the US to a Mexican family. But literally it kind of sounds like a similar experience, right? Like I remember earlier you were kind of talking about like when you were a kid, like, and you had to like represent your parents in like parent teacher conferences, or like I remember myself like any letter that came from anywhere, school, the government or the bank or from school, is like I had to translate to my parents. And like do you want to share a little bit more of like those experiences?
I think like obviously having a different experience to my parents, I still have to like help them out with things, and it could just be like can you explain this to me, or what is this process and stuff like that. And it's never a burden, like they're my parents, like I'll do that for them. But those are things that people aren't ever going to have to think about. And that's like for me, like if I go somewhere, like I might go to a parents' evening with my mum and my brother, and like the teacher's saying something and I might have to be like, oh, by the way, this is how it works over here, this is how the grade system works, this is how the exams work, and this is how subjects work, because it's all so different, which is fine. Different places will have different systems, but it's just like getting them to learn that. And also like being a young person myself is kind of like, whoa, like why am I low-key my brother's second mom? Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a weird one.
It's very interesting. And like what do you think about like when you think of home, like where Where's that home to you? Is it like like a place, a feeling, or a group of people, or?
I would say all of the above. It's a bit of a tricky one. I think home can be so many different things and also nothing at the same time, because I have people that feel like home to me, and they can be from so many different cultures, countries, ethnicities, religions, and cities. So that's not like a geographical location. But also, when I go to what I would call my home country, even though I wasn't born there, Guinea, where my parents are from and where I'm ethnically from, I would call that home, because I know when I go there, even though I've not got the perfect pronunciation in the language, even though I don't know every single part of the culture and what the colours of the flag represent, I'm not being judged, and I feel like it is a safe space for me to just exist. Meanwhile, over here, even though this is my actual home country, as some would say, and where I was born, I just feel like, I don't know how to word it, but I don't feel like I am considered on the same level as someone that was probably white and born here. I don't feel like this is my home, and I don't feel catered to all of the time. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have of being born in this country, because there are privileges that I have in comparison to people that have come to this country and, don't have access to things. And I'm very happy that I have access, but it shouldn't be that way, that certain people don't get things just because they weren't born in the country. And it shouldn't be that people have no access to these things. So I think, like, I would say home is where my friends are, where my family is. Home is where I feel welcome. Home is any space that people welcome me and make me feel safe. And I used to always like talk to my friends about like the We Belong gatherings, not a little plug, but like I used to always say, like, during college, like I was actually going through such a tough time, and it didn't seem like it because I'm a very like, like a bubbly person, and I'm loud and I'm kind of funny. So 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 because of that and the way I present, and I'm a very big personality, no one knew that I was struggling, but internally I was like, I was going through hell and back. So We Belong really did become a third place for me, because I went to work, I went to college, and then I would go home. But home was basically college again, because I was revising for my A-levels. And like just having the space, like even if I wasn't going to the gatherings, being able to visit Asli and Adam and everyone in the office, or just being able to just have that space to go to and just say, hey guys, can I come to the office? I wouldn't even talk to them sometimes. I'd just be there in a pod. But like watching like a movie on Netflix or something, like it became such an important space for me. And I'm like, really grateful, guys. Like that was really nice of you. No, but like it was like it became it became a really important space for me, because like sometimes you like that became home for me as well, in a sense. And people like, how has an office become your home? Like you don't get it, because for me that was a safe space for me. Like I could like block out everything else going on. Like, okay, you got a D in your exam, your friends kind of hate you, your family are a bit mad at you, but I had somewhere where I could just talk and laugh and share my experiences with people, and it was just really nice. So yeah,
that's so
Asli's gonna get happy now because I said something nice.
I can't believe it, on camera as well.
It's AI, guys, it's not real.
That's so nice to hear.
Yeah, and I really love the points how you mentioned, like, I mean, you mentioned you were born here, right? And you still feel like, you still have to like kind of almost fight to be able to continue. I mean, you're saying you were born here, right? And you still have to like kind of continue to like kind of fight and feel like for you to like feel like you belong here, right?
Yeah.
And I know, for example, we work with a lot of young people who are on the immigration journey, and they came here when they were, kids, and it's often until like they're maybe around when they're around like 18, 19 years old trying to go to uni, when they realize, like, wait, hold up, I'm not actually British on paper. And Asli, like, do you kind of you work with a lot of like the young people, right, who are on this journey to like settlement? Like, do you think that you can kind of share a little bit of like how like they expressed how they felt like when they realized that they didn't really like blend in, or they were different from the rest of like their British friends, even though they grew up here, right? Like they're British on everything but paper, right? Like,
of course, I think like a lot of the things we hear when we work with young people and they share that experience with us is that it's just like so inherently confusing. I think it really spins your whole sense of identity. Something that you're so sure of, that this was your home, this is where you live, this is the language you speak, these are where all your friends are from. And just one UCAS application telling you that you're not eligible to home fees, I think describes like this being like completely spun. Especially like we've said, it's just like how can the UK not be considered your home when nowhere, like this is where you've lived for the longest amount of time. You've been through like all your education here. Like I think it's just so inherently confusing, and there's always, which upsets me because we obviously know there shouldn't be like shame around speaking about this, but so many young people feel like they can't really talk to their peers about this because they find it embarrassing, or people like their parents, or they know that something's going on at home with the Home Office, or their papers are getting sorted, and it's like we don't actually like, don't go into school and tell your teachers that, or tell your friends that, because that might potentially put them in a dangerous position. So I think a lot of young people are holding a huge burden, and kind of say it's like another We Belong plug, but like our like toolkit training is like really essential for youth workers and teachers and staff that work with young people, because some of these signs are so little. We always say the example of like being 16 and like there's like a French exchange or a school trip abroad, and a person in your class tells you that they can't go because there's something at the Home Office, or their parents wouldn't let them. It's like little signs like that, where professionals can kind of dig deeper and figure out maybe a young person is really like seeking support there. I remember like one young person would say like that she had no idea about this at all. She remembers hearing like the concept of like LLR at home and all of this stuff, but her parents wanted to protect her from those troubles around immigration and didn't think that education would be a problem at all. I knew that it would come up in other ways, maybe with like passports and like trips and stuff, but she had accepted that because she was like, well, I'm still going to school, I've still got my friends, like that's fine. And then that moment where she was told that she couldn't go to university that year. I think she had already started university, and then she got like a check from student loans company being like, you owe us this much in tuition fees. And I think like her mum at the point was like really like upset because she had spent so long like protecting her daughter from this and hadn't realised it would trickle down all the way to this point. So I think that really just like emphasises the point that of like everyone needs to kind of be educated on this, because there's just so many young people that are like slipping through the cracks that really could be supported at a much earlier point.
What advice would you guys say would you give to like anyone listening right now who maybe kind of identifies with the situation, and what advice would you kind of give to them?
Get in touch.
Yeah. Or like even if that seems like so daunting at first, speak to an adult that you trust. And I think like a youth worker or a teacher, because we're quite lucky if you search up on student loans, like got a problem with student loan, and if on the official website We Belong is listed as a point of contact, so the people around you could access our support. It's not hidden. So if it feels too daunting to reach out yourself, definitely speak to someone you trust, because you'll find us.
I think just getting it out there as well, not being worried about any stereotypes or any messages that might be attached to that feeling, because like you were saying, Asli, about people feeling embarrassed or like there's something wrong with them. Like you can't measure how deserving someone is of education based on how long they've been here for. So I think like just knowing that like no one's at fault and it's rather a systematic issue, and you deserve to go to uni just like all of your friends, and you deserve that chance to be able to do whatever you want and pick what your career is and keep moving forward with your life, and not thinking that you're being held back by this piece of paper.
So Asli, you're kind of talking about the importance of like also teachers and different institutions to get educated. Like, is there anything We Belong is doing at the moment to try to like get more people like aware of this situation and how to better support young people?
Yeah, so I think roughly this time last year we launched our hyper local focus and strategy, which is essentially we looked at our data, our numbers, and tried to see in London and Manchester, there's both huge cities, in what areas are our cases like mainly coming from. I think in Manchester, apart from the borough of Manchester itself, we pulled up Bury and Rochdale. I think Oldham was there as well. And we're trying to essentially like deep dive into those areas and reach out to more localized groups that have connections to those communities. I think, especially in the context of Manchester, I think Greater Manchester wards are a bit more tight knit. So it's really important to do that work with people that are trusted in those communities already, rather than, you know, dotting in, just being like, hi, I'm Asli from We Belong, can I talk to everybody? Because it's like, well, the people in the area don't trust you. They don't even know what We Belong is. So through that, we're trying that with kind of all different avenues, still early stages, but it's been really exciting to see how that work can look like with councillors or people that have been elected by those people in those areas. And like social workers has been quite an interesting one as well to look at, because local authorities are responsible for the young people they care for. So if a young migrant is under like state care, that local authority would be they had to essentially pay for those fees for that young person, which obviously takes away such a huge cost for like an individual. But again, that's all that kind of like nitty gritty information that's not super easy to find online. So it's quite important to like go into those areas and share that information and like enter those communities.
And what has been your experience actually discussing the topic of immigration in Manchester, like with like for Mancunians? Like is it an easy topic to talk about? Like,
you know what, I think it has been. I think stepping into this role, you would think it would be kind of daunting. But obviously Mancunians are lovely and they care for their people, and it's like, especially I think conversations with councillors at first, that kind of comes off, especially when immigration is like so politicized now, and so people don't want to talk about it because they don't know how that would look like for, you know, the people that vote for them and stuff. I think this specific thing that we look at, I think it's always just met with lots of shock, and it's always like, I've never spoken to anyone about it and they've been like, oh, so what, they just need to go and like figure it out themselves. And everyone's always been like, oh my god, I can't believe people are like going through this is so shocking, what can we do to help? And it's been really like, it's not been brushed aside, which has been good. So yeah, I think it's actually been quite a positive response, but there's something in it where it's like we have to be careful where we situate, because I don't want us to be like, oh, this is We Belong and these are the migrants, you know, you should be supporting because they've been here for a long time, and because I think there's such a like fixation on new arrivals and asylum seekers and refugees and people that have come into the country more recently, and it's like, we don't want to frame ourselves as the good guys, like that's not fair. We're all allies and essentially all fighting the bigger issue here. So it's also situating like, we don't want you to just side with us because this is like, you think this kind of immigration's okay and this isn't, because it's all the same thing. So yeah, but it's actually, it's been met with good responses.
And Fatima, like kind of laying on that, like, here's a two-parted question. Like, one, what do you think a fair immigration system would look like? And two, what is the importance of like youth engagement in this space? Like,
you got some good questions. Okay. I think a fair immigration system would, I'm not going to give you like some crazy thesis, but like would just be accessible for people in terms of money and time. I think it's ridiculous to make people wait so long to even get stuck in, and like all these processes, I think they've been made so complicated on person so that the average Joe doesn't understand and can't be bothered. But if you're so busy with your life and you already know that your status isn't secure, you're not going to want to spend hours and hours researching about it and all the different avenues that you can take. You've probably got kids, you've got to find a way to make money, you've got people that might be living abroad that that rely on you. So I think it's been made overcomplicated so that people don't become citizens or don't get this settlement status that they need. And I think it's all very strategic and it's very much on purpose, because if they wanted people to have an easy avenue, they could do it. Like, there's so many processes in the UK that should be more complicated, I think, but are very simple because they want people to understand. But in this case, they don't. So it's been made complicated on purpose. So something that is easy to understand, something that anyone of any age can comprehend and get on board with, something that people can physically do, and something that isn't going to cost them an arm and a leg, something that people can afford. If you aren't giving people the right to work, how are they supposed to afford all these fees? Get the fee away. Do you know what I mean? Why does it cost so much? Where is that money going? Is that money going into things that are going to help those people in the end? Yes or no? The answer's probably no. So get rid. And
Perfect answer.
what was I going to say? What's the second question? Youth engagement,
Yeah,
right?
like, I mean, you obviously you both have experience with youth
It's
engagement.
winning.
But Fatima, to kind of put the spotlight on you, like,
Yeah.
what has been your experience with youth engagement, and
Yeah.
what is the importance of it, and what can young people do more?
Yeah, so I'm a young person myself, but I've worked with young people ever since I was 14. So I started volunteering at a charity, and since then I've just like stayed in the youth space. Obviously it's really different with like 3-year-olds and like 16 to 25-year-olds now, but I've worked in like that youth engagement space for nearly 2 years now, so we're low-key twinning again. She's my soulmate, guys. But like, I think it's really important to acknowledge the youth in situations like this. And I think that's why We Belong is so important, because obviously it's about migrants in general, but focusing on young people is really important, because young people aren't the future. Like people say, young people are here now and they're here to stay. It's very important to make spaces for young people, because a lot of the times they are overlooked and underrepresented and seen as an afterthought, or seen as something that, you know, we're going to do this and then we're going to loop all the young people in at the end. And in my line of work, like that's, oh, I sound really fancy saying that. In my line of work, we don't do that. And it's really important to make sure that we are co-creating with young people and asking them what they think, what we think, and asking us, you know, for our opinion, like things like this, like being on a podcast, like I'm being given the chance to share my views on something, and people might say I've not got enough life experience, I've not got this and I've not got that, but everybody has something that they bring to the table. And I think it's really important at every level of things we do, whether it's to do with youth work specifically or any other sort of line of work, to involve young people, because they will always have a new perspective and make you think about things that you've never thought of. Like, I'm a young person myself and I work with young people, and when I talk to like a youth advisory board for my workplace, like they say things and I'm like, I have never thought of that. And people might doubt you because you're 16 and say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But young people have so much to offer. And I think in Manchester as well, I love talking about Manchester. I think in Manchester, the youth space is just crazy. Like everyone is so smart and educated and doing so many amazing things. Like there's so many young people that come to We Belong gatherings and they're doing stuff. And I'm just like, you guys are insane. Like you're so cool. So I think involving young people at all levels is super important, and just acknowledging the youth and not seeing them as, you know, less than, and seeing them as infants who don't know what they're doing, because young people are clocking onto it and they're, you know, we've got our own stuff going on, just you wait. So yeah, I think young people are super important, youth engagement is super important. Yeah,
Brilliant. Any final thoughts on that, Asli?
That was just the perfect answer. Like, I just think that's
Thank you.
For you. Well, that's why we have a section on our website called Get Involved. That's why it's called Get Involved. So yeah, guys, get
involved. No.
That's gonna be the new mood word. So well, thank you so much, guys. I think that's gonna be a beautiful conclusion to this episode. That's it for this episode of Migrant Moods. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being part of this journey. And don't forget to follow We Belong on social media. Sign up for the newsletter. We always have opportunities and campaign updates. And we'll be releasing a new episode of Migrant Moods every Thursday. So just be sure to follow us, listen wherever you get your podcast from, subscribe on YouTube. And thank you guys. Bye.
Yay! That was so fun.
cool.
Oh, thank you. Phew.